etc. as well. That's a concern for us. We've got to make the most of what we've got. There is a partnership to be had with the voluntary sector, I'm sure, not to replace the professional sector, absolutely not, but as a partnership to help work with us. And some of the crowdsourcing and crowd sort of funding initiatives will be interesting to see what take-up there is. There's a slight danger at the moment, it seems to me, that we're building projects on the expectation that the volunteers will come, and I'm not convinced that they always will. And we need to be working hard from the ground up, not just in a very top-down way. We need to be thinking very hard about skills, and a lot of that, I think, ultimately comes down to leadership. We heard there was quite a lot of talk earlier on about individual responsibility, and clearly we all have to take individual responsibility. But it seems to me there's also a very strong degree of responsibility by employers and by those who are in a position to have influence over the direction of our discipline and over our organisations. And I thought it was rather telling earlier on when we had a rather, in some ways, a slightly depressing conversation about NVQs. And we asked, who's got these NVQs? And there's a smattering of people around the room who more widely have seen the value sufficiently of NVQs to go and actually get one. They're people at the start of their career. Nobody who is, in a sense, further on in their career has seen the value of those NVQs to go and get one for themselves. There's been no leadership from that perspective. And if these opportunities really are important for us, I think it's important that we show sectoral leadership. That can happen both through AirNet and through FISH. And everybody can be involved in those things. These are not exclusive organisations. FISH has a GISMail discussion list. Everybody can participate in that. The aim now is to continue these conversations as we move forward through those fora, but continuing to involve everybody. And what I think happens next after today is that everybody who's here will continue to be informed about some of the outcomes of today. We'll circulate and disseminate some of the typed up notes, the report that CBA will produce coming out of today. But that's, again, not the end point. And if you have further thoughts on your journeys home based around some of the collaborations that you've potentially discussed today, make sure you feed them in through people like Dan as the sort of secretary of FISH and other colleagues around. So please do keep thinking, do keep collaborating, do keep participating in some of these more wide discussions. So just to sort of close, really, I'd just like to thank, obviously, everybody who's come today. I appreciate many of you have come a very long way and possibly had very early starts to get here. And it's been really valuable to have your collective experience and wisdom to share in these discussions. I'm really grateful to everybody who's spoken and prepared something. Very grateful to everybody who's facilitated the discussions at the individual tables. Clearly, we're very grateful to English Heritage who provided the funding for today. We're very grateful to Phil for the acronym, which was clearly a crucial part of any major conference. And the fact that we've been able to be trending on Twitter today, I'm sure is a lot of it down to the acronym as opposed to necessarily the content of what we were talking about. But that in itself all helps. It gets us out there to a broader audience. But finally, I'd obviously like very much to thank Sarah Howard, who's borne the brunt of the organisational work behind today, working with Dan, Jill and colleagues from English Heritage. So thank you very much indeed, Sarah, and your stress levels can now go down to a slightly lower level, hopefully in the next few days. So thank you all very much for coming. I think there's probably some tea and coffee if anybody wants to participate before you all head off. But I hope you all have safe journeys home, and keep thinking and keep collaborating. Thank you very much.